You know, think about it, right? If you're on the move, if you're on the go, owning really locks you down. And that was the thing. I realized that we're moving to a slightly different culture of slower movement. So everything I did in the last 2 years, I did it in this little room right here. I have a pretty small, 12 by 12 room. Got my whiteboard here. I've got a lot of stuff that I'm moving right now because I'm leaving this place. Had a bit of a natural light window, which is nice, but I ended up putting like these shelves here because I had my audio gear here. Here is my 3-monitor setup. So that's that. But yeah, I'm in full swing on this move and getting ready to go to my new home, my newly purchased 1-acre land, where I'm going to be getting into farming and permaculture and a life more remote. Because I think it's hyper valuable right now to get food sovereignty. And I've been thinking that for a couple of years. So I've been working towards that. And just been trying to keep Rich+Niche going, trying to keep engaged, trying to keep putting out content. But just going through a bit of a transition in life right now. Thinking about the transition from renting to owning. I've been renting for 17 years or so. I think I lived back at home for 1 or 2 years in the middle somewhere. But I lived in a lot of different places, you know. I went to law school in central Canada, which was quite a unique experience. And then I ended up graduating on an exchange program in Hong Kong. So completely opposed sides. And that's, I guess, when I started thinking about what is digital nomad and how do you travel. And I found that when you go to Southeast Asia, things are very different. Things cost a lot less, and lifestyle and culture is very different than the West, and it's very alluring. I remember going to Hong Kong, of course, but also Thailand, Bali, Taiwan, Vietnam. I think those are it. And really enjoyed that nomadic experience. I mean, wasn't really making that much at the time, but it's crazy that life just costs a lot less over there. And even recently when I was living in Canada, I did the math, and it would actually be cheaper for me to rent my house in Canada and go live in Bali as it would be to rent my house in Canada and live in Canada. That's quite an absurd understanding there. It would be cheaper to have 2 houses and not live in Canada than it would be to have 1 house and live in Canada, because the cost of goods is so high, you know. And rent in Bali, when I was there, you can find rent for $15 to $20 a day. So that's only $600 a month versus say $2,000, maybe $2,200 in Canada. So that was a big experiential understanding to realize what was going on with all that. And even today I think about it, what to do, where to go. And I've been reading the Nomad Capitalist, which is a great paradigm shift from the digital nomad. And they go well together. It's a nice hybrid mindset to think about travel, but also think about your finances. All right, I just want to check this out, the view. This is my son's room. It's got a crazy view. Just a really nice bedroom view. Look at that. Really calm at night. You can just look up into the stars. Nice ocean breeze. Looks like a lake, but that's actually the ocean. That's just a little island across there. So this is where we lived first or second in Cold Valley. This isn't our first place here. We used to live like on the right there over that ridge in a little cabin. We've been living in a 3-bedroom townhouse. That's the same price as our old 1-bedroom and den apartment in downtown Vancouver. Sweet, the light is so much better here than it was earlier. So back to what I was saying about, going from renting to owning. I mean, I'm a big believer of renting. I think that there's a cost to living, and that's fine. And people don't understand the costs associated with having a house, with paying property taxes. And, people are kind of confused about the real estate industry, I find. Prices are up, but everybody's house's price is up. So there's not a lot of value gained, because if you sell your house, you move, you got to pay more anyways, right? So owning a house has pros and cons. The reason I went for it was the food sovereignty. I wasn't interested in buying a condo. I could have bought a way bigger house for the same price, but it had no land. It had no ability to grow. The great thing about this new property is I can build another house on it, fully zoned. So I'll probably do like something quick, like either a tiny home or something, and start driving some revenue. But in the long term, my plan is to build maybe like a 3 or 4 bedroom house and then rent out the one we're currently living in. So I'm excited to show you guys that, but that's not for a couple of weeks. But I thought, we could just talk about renting versus owning, and I could share what I know about it. I mean, renting is so amazing because you can just pick up and go. Like, I always lived in brand new places when I was renting, and you're not going to leave it brand new. You're leaving it well worn. I mean, used. It's like, if you're going to buy a house to invest in a real estate and rent it out, don't buy a nice place. I mean, no sense buying a brand new place because you're paying top dollar, right? Another thing I've learned is, like, in real estate, it's not just about the passive income and positive cash flow. It's about the depreciation tax deductible that real estate owners get against their personal income. And I didn't really know about that for a long time. So I'm also trying to buy a little apartment one day in the next maybe 2 years to get that tax credit or deduction. And another thing is, if you buy or even look to invest in real estate abroad, you can then write off that travel. That's crazy. Like, that's awesome. If you love vacationing in Mexico, man, buy a cheap apartment there and you can write off every single trip, every dollar, because the reason you're going there is for investment purposes, and that's business. So I didn't want to buy a house, and I was fine with renting. I don't look down on renting at all. I think it has different benefits. I think having a house is good for a lot of people because it makes them save money as equity, store value in their home. It's pretty safe that way. It's pretty good for a lot of people. But your house does not make you money, right? Your house is a liability, technically, especially with, how much debt we all have on them. The mortgages are rather substantial. So don't think owning is superior to renting in all situations in case you're that person. That's not accurate. There's a lot of benefits to renting. Now, that doesn't mean you don't own real estate for investing and then you rent your own home. Think about it, right? If you're on the move, if you're on the go, owning really locks you down. And that was the thing. I realized that we're moving to a slightly different culture of slower movement. I have kind of finished my nomadic part of my life, and I'm very grateful that I got to do it in a great time. Like, I saw Bali in its peak. It was amazing, and it's so each person has to look at it, but the fact is most people can't afford to own anymore. We're watching this happen in real time right now. And when inflation's happening, right, the cost of the house goes up, right? So does the quote unquote value. And so you realize, like, inflation helps people who already have houses, and it really hurts those who don't have houses. Because you're just holding cash, and slowly and surely that cash becomes worth less and less. Like, right now it's 10 to 20% less every single year. Like, my wife bought like 4 bags of greens the other day, like little greens, like salad greens. It was like $30 or something. Like, we're headed for some unsustainable times, guys. I started my channel and I try to put this out because I'm nervous for many of you who are in the middle class, who do not understand what's going on right now, who do not realize that if you don't act, you could be sent down to the lower. And you don't want to do that, right? You don't want to have to take such a big step back. You want to go into the upper. You want to create value in the world, and you will go in the upper, you know? You will survive this pressure. It's very important to clue in on that right now and listen closely to the people that you find trustworthy. And that might not be me, that might be me, it might not just be me. I think you got to balance your ideas, and I'm always balancing. I told my wife years ago, like, I'm not buying a house, that they're overpriced. There's no value. And it's not just that. Like, this purchase, it doesn't crush my income, but it prevents me from investing my money in a different way. It locks a big chunk of your capital up. It has unexpected costs that are gonna creep up. New this, new washer, fix the roof, like landscaping costs, you know. I think I've done the calculations and I'm okay with it because of the food and the opportunity to build a second home and turn that into a cash cow place, and also hold some events. Thinking about building some sort of geodesic dome. I know someone who has one, and I think it's really utility based. You can do a lot of stuff in kind of like a cheap dome unit. Of course, you need land. That's the thing. You need land to start doing this. But I don't know if you guys have ever heard this before, and I think it's so important that we spread this around. Like, food sovereignty and growing food yourself is the most practical and the most valuable experience in most people's lives. You will become connected to the earth, connected to your food, connected to your garbage. Okay, we're getting disconnected from those things. And I can thank my partner, Tiffany, for keeping me more connected to those things. She's very good at that. And you might think, well, I don't have any land. Well, if you have any grass, then you have land. If you have no grass and you're in a condo, you might be able to get some baskets out on your balcony or something. Not easy. Try herbs, maybe indoor garden, but not a lot of space for that. But if you got grass, you really got to realize that grass is useless, okay? You spend all this time and money making your grass nice. And if you don't, it gets ugly and you get weeds and all sorts of stuff. And that's the thing, weeds are actually very natural. But we spend all this money poisoning out the weeds. We poison our land. And if you could just get like a small 6x6 plot, you'd be surprised what you could develop. And I'm gonna try and either create a new channel or put some stuff out here about my findings on that. I think that's a big boom that's gonna be coming. I think people are savvy enough and we have enough YouTube technology that a lot of people will get into growing their own food because of the prices. Like, I'm not deathly afraid of life. I mean, no matter if we go to hyperinflation or not, we're gonna figure it out. Like, we can trade goods, we can get a new currency, we can switch to crypto, right? Like, hyperinflation is just a moment in time where the money we've been holding is changing in value. And so there's a lot of confusion about what something's worth, including a house, including vegetables, you know? And if you haven't been looking at housing like me in the last year, like, you don't even know probably how crazy it's been going up. And that's the thing, like, Netflix hasn't been going up, you know, junk food hasn't really been going up. Some people, the way they live, you know, those commodities aren't affected by inflation as fast. And so some people don't realize what's happening. But if you buy real food, and you want to buy any sort of asset, stock market, real estate, Bitcoin, I mean, that stuff's all going up. Those are limited. The paper money is not limited, right? So you could wake up, you know, yeah, maybe 2 million. You just got to wake up that, like, every year that it would only take like 5 years to that feel like 1 million. And then another 3 years to feel like 100,000. I mean, that's the danger of reverse compounding of 20% inflation. I mean, I don't know if that's a thing, but I just mean that it's going in the wrong direction for us, and there's no sign of turning around, because what you have to understand is that the economy moved into sort of this 0% interest rate, where as long as we keep loaning people money, the economy can keep spending, and spending is what we track. As long as we're spending, we're growing, okay? That's the way they do it. And they have to keep interest rates at 0, because if interest rates, say, went up to 5%, a lot of people, their mortgage payments would get wrecked. It would attempt to encourage people to save, because if I'm getting 5% on my savings account all of a sudden, after I've been getting like 0.01 or whatever, okay, saving's good. So I'm not going to spend that money, right? So like a lot of millennials right now, like they spend a lot of money because it's worthless. Like, what's the point of saving money, right? There's no point. It's just going to become worth less and less. You might as well get that time value out of money. You even understand this, right? Like if someone wins the lottery for 50 million, it's going to pay out over 25 years, or they can take like 14 million right away. A huge cut. But the value of 50 million in 25 years could be almost nothing. That's what you're guarding against, right? So I'm factoring all of this into my decisions. To buy, rent, move. So I just want to let you guys into some of those insights on what goes into my decision making on a big decision like this. I mean, basically talking a 7-figure purchase, a commitment, and then a commitment to preparing and managing the land. It's sort of significant, right? So that's what I'll be working on over the next 30 days or so, as I transfer over and get the gardening beds up for the end of the season, and just getting ready for next year, and cleaning up the different elements of the land, maybe building a little thing or two, getting used to everything. Should be exciting. Should be a great place to make content. A lot more privacy, a lot more different areas to shoot. We'll see. But the next thing I want to put out for you guys is more consulting content. So keep an eye out for that. That's what I'm kind of working on right now. And yeah, hope you guys have a great week. Stay in touch. Leave me a comment below. Are you following the journey of Rich UX? Are you pushing yourself in your own digital marketing career? Are you having a good time? Do you wake up excited to take on this journey? I hope you do. And if you enjoyed this story, this video, go ahead, give it a like. I'll be back probably next Monday. I feel like Mondays are my upload day these days. Trying my best. I promise one day I'll be a 2 or 3 week uploader again. I don't know when that is. Running a business, having an infant, moving. It's hard to make YouTube content. Don't let anyone ever tell you it's easy to be a YouTuber. It is not easy. It's very difficult. It takes a huge commitment, and that's why the rewards are good if you stick it out. All right, guys. See you next time.